So, um, in the last session, just a moment. Okay, in the last session, we had already completed Linux part 3,
Mm-hmm.
and we will be directly jumping to the web hacking fundamentals for the time being, because that's more important compared to the network as of now. We will be definitely covering that as well. But for the time being, we'll be going through the web fundamentals. And apart from this room as well, there is another room that is HTTP in detail. We'll be going through that as well later on, like in the upcoming session, so that it's more clear. So for the time being, we'll directly start this web fundamentals one. Okay. And
Okay.
here, what we have, we will try to understand what is HTTP request, response, web servers, cookies, and all these things. We'll try to complete. Uh, just a moment. Okay, no, not this. Okay, we'll try to complete these first two as of today, and tomorrow we'll see how we can complete the rest. Okay. So now I will just complete this one as there is nothing here. And okay, starting of this machine actually was not required because we are not going to do anything. But I had already started it so that we don't waste time. Also, I have started the attack box as well. So as you can see, there is a show split view because the attack box is running in the backend only. So that Linux is running in the backend. We don't need it as of now, but yeah, I started in advance only. So yeah, let's discuss how do we load a particular website. So normally what happens if you put google.com, right? uh, how are we able to get the page for google.com, like when we press enter, right? So are we able to how are we able to get a particular page response whenever we are searching google.com? Okay, now how it works is we have web servers, and I'm getting some noise from someone. Mansa, is that you? Okay. So we have web servers. Web servers are also like computers only, but it works as a server where a website is running. Okay, like it's hosting a website. So all the content related to that particular website is hosted there. Now that server, or yeah, we will call it server only now. So that server is going to have an IP. Okay, if you're not aware of a IP, IP is kind of a you can say a numeric identifier to identify a server, because in the whole world there could be many server. Okay, like in millions there are servers. So to identify each server, there are IPs, and IPs are a numerical identifier. We will be discussing when we go through the networking part in more detail, but it's just a numeric identifier, you can say. So now normally if we want to suppose our google.com, okay, it is hosted by a server test server. Okay, it is hosted on a server called test server. Now that server is going to have an IP. Okay, IP would maybe look like 10.11.12.13. I'm just giving an example. Now it's going to have an IP. Okay, so when we access https google.com, okay, it should be sending the request to this particular IP. Okay, that get me the page for google.com. Now earlier what used to happen when we didn't have this is actually called a domain name, or you can call normally in normal words we call it website name, right? But it's a technical term, we call it domain name. So remembering all the IP addresses, okay, like you can access google.com by directly putting this IP as well. Okay, this is not the correct IP, I'm just giving an example. You can access google.com directly from this IP address as well, if you like copy it and paste it in the uh, just a moment, I didn't copy. If you copy it and paste it in the URL, you should be able to access it, the google.com, because that is the server for that particular website. It's not a valid IP, that's why it's not loading. But that's how you can do it. But the issue with that approach is because there are millions of websites out there, remembering the IP addresses, okay, like this numeric identifier for all of those, it's not feasible. So that's why we like not we have the domain names use. Okay, So because using remembering google.com or facebook.com, it's much easier compared to remembering this numeric identifier. Okay, so that's why we have domain names. Now this mapping, okay, like google.com means this particular IP address. Okay, similarly facebook.com means 10 dot like 11 dot 12 dot 14 dot 15. Okay, like facebook.com means this particular IP. Okay, this mapping, it is managed by a server, that's a different server, that is called DNS server. Okay, um, I'm forgetting the full form of DNS, just a moment. A domain name server, just a moment. Domain name system, my bad. So domain name system servers are there. Okay, what it contains, it will have the records, all the records, like if someone is searching google.com, send the request to this particular server. Okay, and that server will respond with the data. Similarly, if someone is accessing facebook.com, send the request to this particular IP, because that's the IP where the facebook.com is hosted, and all that mapping is stored within the DNS server. Okay, in simpler words. Okay, it's a bit complicated than that, but yeah, in simpler words, if you put it, that's how it works. So here, that's the same thing. It is explained that if when you are opening google.com, how is it going to find out the server where google.com is hosted? So that's why a DNS request is made to DNS server, and it is going to return an IP address, and then we will be sending that request to that particular IP address to get our google.com page. Okay, because people do not have to remember the IP addresses of their favorite websites. Okay, now it's also saying that what is an IP address? It's a unique identifier. Okay, which looks like numeric identifier divided by three dots. Okay, so yeah, that's how you can say what is IP is. We will be discussing it in the networking part later on, but IP is just to identify a server's address. Okay, now here, once the browser knows the server's IP address, okay, because the IP address is written by DNS server, it can ask the server for the web page or like whatever request we have sent to it. Okay, and whenever, most of the time, whenever we are asking for to return us the page, okay, like this page we are asking to return, it is mostly sending a get request. Okay, get is an example of HTTP verbs. Okay, HTTP websites we have, so it's we call these get as a HTTP verb, or we also call it as HTTP methods. Okay, there are different methods actually. We have get, we have post, and all those, but we'll be discussing get and post for the time being. So most of the time, whenever you are loading a page, okay, it will be sending a get request to this particular domain. Okay, and that domain will be resolved to the IP address by a DNS server. So the request, that get request eventually will go to that particular IP address where google.com is hosted. Okay, so to get the pages, we have get request. Okay, here there is a screenshot actually. You can see that a get request is being sent to this particular endpoint, like slash online, and we have a IP address here. Okay, if you are not aware of Wireshark, you can use Wireshark to capture all the requests, or like everything that is being sent by your computer. Okay, so we'll maybe in future we'll there are definitely rooms here on TryHackMe specifically for Wireshark. We will be going through that, but using that you can see what are the different requests are being sent by your computer to different servers. Okay, so here you can see that you are sending a get request to this slash online, or and this is your source IP, like this is our computer's IP and this is the destination. Okay, in the response we are getting 200. Okay, means we got the page. So this is the server IP, this is our computer IP. So the server sent the page to us. Okay, this is what it means. Similarly, we are requesting for an icon file from our machine to the server. Server is responding us with the 200. Okay, that here is the PNG file. Okay, so that's how actually it works. Now HTTP you are already aware of, like when we have HTTP in the URL. Okay, this is actually not secure. Okay, if someone is listening by performing a man in the middle attack or anything, uh, they could be able to read or like access whatever we are sending to the server. Okay, like they can intercept our request and they can read whatever we are sending to the server, because it is not secure. Okay, even if you are sending some username and password on login to a website, if someone is listening in middle, they would be able to see those username password in clear text. So that's why we have HTTPS. Okay, so HTTP is nothing but HTTPS is a secure version of HTTP. Okay, it works in the same way like we have all these get, post, and everything. But whatever data it is HTTPS sends to the server, it will be encrypted. Okay, so what that will mean that the data would be encrypted. Whatever data you send from your machine to the server would be able to modify it or read it as well, even though it is encrypted, because that's how it works. But if someone is in the middle, okay, like between the computer and the server, if someone is listening in the network, they won't be able to decrypt that data if you are using HTTPS, okay, on your websites. So I will just give an example. See here, if I try to load http colon slash slash google.com, okay, what will happen even if I am saying that open the HTTP version, like insecure version of google.com. Google.com has implemented one security configuration that will always redirect the HTTP pages to HTTPS. So if I press enter, you will see that here you can see a this secure button, right? Right now, why? Because see, if I press left button here, you can see we have loaded HTTPS. Okay, even though we asked it to load the HTTP, that's because this configuration can be done on website servers, that even if you are asking for the HTTP page, it should always load the HTTPS page. Okay, so that's how you can make your website secure, just a config by just my bad, by just making a configuration change. Okay, now here for example, this when we loaded google.com, right, we got this whole page. Now how is this page made up? Okay, in the last session as well we discussed about HTML. So if you want to see what HTML looks like, you can right click on any page, you can go to views page source. So this is actually JavaScript, but down below, just a moment. Okay, here if you right click, inspect element, yeah, this all these division, this input, all these are actually HTML code. So a website is mostly made of HTML. Then we have CSS is actually used to design. Okay, like we have these curves around these buttons and all these things. So for designing we have CSS, and then we have JavaScript as well. Okay, in future when we will be exploiting bugs, um, we will discuss about JavaScript in more detail. But for example, uh, if I click on this Google search button, okay, if something is happening on the browser side itself, okay, like it is showing me that you can't click on this button, or it is showing me an alert that this is not allowed, but on the browser itself the request is not being sent to the server, okay, then that functionality is implemented by JavaScript. Okay, JavaScript is a client side programming language, or yeah, using that you can perform client side actions. Okay, so that's why we use it. So mostly a website is made of HTML, CSS, JavaScript. There are a lot of things nowadays, but in basics, if you say, it is made of these three parts. So now it is asking us what is the HTTP verb used whenever we are retrieving a page content. So that would be get always. Okay, what port do web servers normally listen on? Okay, so websites mostly, if you are not aware of the port concept, ports are actually, you can say, on a server, okay, there could be different gates, okay, to get into that server. So if you are trying to get into the website, then the gate number is 80. Okay, if it is an HTTP gate. If it is an HTTPS gate, like the website is running on HTTPS, then port is 443. Okay, normally that's how that's the port numbers for HTTP and HTTPS. Okay, these can be changed by doing different configurations on server, but by default these are the most common ports that is used for HTTP and HTTPS. Okay, so it is asking us what port do web servers normally listen on, so that is port 80. What is responsible to make the website look fancy? So like for designing purpose we have CSS, right? Any questions so far, or any doubt regarding what is domain name or DNS server, or how we load the websites and everything?
No, Himmat, we are
Okay,
good.
fine. So just a moment, I'm just having some throat issues. Okay, so now moving on to the second part, we have more HTTP verbs and request formats. So understanding this is very important in case we want to understand the whole flow, how websites are loaded and how website actually works. Okay, so I will show you. We have requests. Okay, within requests we have 9 different HTTP verbs. Okay, we discussed about get already. Apart from that, we have 8 more HTTP verbs. Okay, but the others we will be discussing later on. The one that we will now discuss is post. Okay, and all these HTTP verbs have different functions. Okay, using these HTTP verbs you can do different things on the server, or like you can make changes in your website. Now most of the time when we use post HTTP method, okay, we use it to send the data to the server. Okay, so what is the difference between get and post? Get, we mostly send a request as get to get the data. Okay, most of the time, because we can understand from the get itself. Okay, most of the time it's to get the data. Now yeah, there are some specific cases where get can be used to send the data as well, but most of the time I would say it is used to receive the data. So in this case, when we load the google.com, we are sending a get request to google.com. It is returning us this page. Okay, but suppose now if I, just a moment, there is this vulnerable website actually. Here we have a login panel, right? Username and password. Now whenever you are sending username and password, they and you click on login, right, this data actually most of the time it will be sent by a post request. Okay, so to send the data to server we use post methods. Okay, now it's giving us a bit of syntax how the request actually looks like in the backend. Okay, uh, it's just an example, but for get, if you see, in the beginning we have the HTTP verb, then here we have the file name, okay, that we are requesting, and here is the IP address and port to which we are requesting. Okay, for example, if we talk about google.com, okay, what would happen, that here it would replace it, that in the host, okay, it will replace it like google.com. Okay, and then whatever port it is, like colon 80. Okay, here it is showing the IP. In the same way, whatever the IP of Google is there, you can also replace that IP here, colon, and then the port 80 here to get a to send a request, get request to the google.com. Okay, and here you are asking for what file you want. Okay, in case right now, see, we are loading only google.com, so we are just asking to get this domain value. So we are not asking for any file after this slash. Okay, whatever you mention after that, it will be considered as a requested endpoint, you can say. Okay, or like requested file. So here it is requesting for a main.js. JS stands for JavaScript file. But if we talk here, okay, about google.com, we are not asking for any file. So in that case, what will happen, there will be an it would be like I will show you here, remove everything, it would be like get slash only. Okay, because we are not sending, we are not asking for any other file, we are just asking for the root page. Okay, in websites as well, this is kind of considered as the root page, means this whatever page is there for google.com, return it. Okay, so that would be shown. See, I will show you. Last time we discussed about developer tools. If you press F12 on your keyboard, you will be able to see these tabs. If you go to network tab, clear everything by clicking on this button, and now see, I will press enter. See, in the beginning only, you can see under the headers that a request was sent to google http google.com, and I already told you that google have a configuration that it will always redirect to https page. Okay, so you can see here that you are getting a response code as 301. 301 always means redirect. Okay, and it's saying redirect to other location. Okay, and where exactly it is redirecting, this is a bit advanced, but I'm just telling you that where are we supposed to redirect. You can always find it that under the location header in the response headers. Okay, so it is asking us to redirect to this particular path. Now this is actually, you can see if we go to this as well. Okay, this is also on HTTP. So the second request is sent to http www.google.com. Again there is an internal redirect, and again you can see under the response header it's asking us to go to https. So that's how in the backend it is working, that whenever you are opening http colon slash google.com, it is asking us to go to http www.google.com. That particular request is asking us to go to https google.com. Okay, so here you saw, right, when you are sending a request, get request, it is directly sending to the main URL. We didn't request for any other file on that. Okay, so that's how the get request goes. It's a bit it's just a moment. Okay, that option I am not seeing. Actually you can see it in the similar way like it is here. Okay, we'll talk about that later. But using get you can get the pages, using post you can send the data. So that's all about in the in short, you can say. Now the request looks like this. Okay, and the responses, if we talk about, okay, now here it is telling us in the response we have http status codes. Okay, status codes, we have plenty of status codes. Okay, from 100 to 199, 200 to 299, like that. Okay, so what it means, okay, for example here you can see, right, we got a 301 status code. Okay, so the definitions you can understand from here. If we talk about, if server is responding with a status code anywhere between 100 to 199, which means it is just returning us an information. Okay, between 200 to 299 means 200. Okay, means whatever request you sent, okay, it was performed successfully. The numbers between 300 to 399 means mostly redirects. Okay, so as you can see, this number was 301, right? So that's why it is redirecting us to a different different URL. Similarly here also you see 307, so that also means a redirect to another URL. So that's why it is these status codes, you can understand what's happening. Okay, so yeah, so that's redirect. If you have a number from 400 or 499, okay, it's client errors, or like you didn't send a proper request to the server. Okay, your request was some bad. Okay, sometimes I guess you must have seen. Okay, for example, whenever you try to load a particular URL, it gives you 404. Okay, what that means, that page is not found. So that means you are requested for a particular page that doesn't even exist on the server. So for example, if I on the google.com, if I search for like Tom, after that I try to access this Tomb Raider page, if you press enter, you can see, right, you got a 404 here. But in the developer tools as well, when we requested for this one, in the response we got 404. Okay, why? Because that doesn't exist. So if you are sending a like invalid request, you will be getting anywhere number between 400 to 499. Every code, actually most of the time, these specific code 404 mostly means that the target page or target URL is not found. Similarly there are others, but yeah, like in short, you can say that whenever you are sending invalid request, you will get it. 500 to 599, if the server is not like, when you send the request to the server, it reaches to the server, even though request is valid, but server is not able to process it. For example, sometimes what happens when you load, uh, uh, mostly it happens when the results come out, right, for IIT or for AIEEE or for any other famous exam. Okay, so on those websites what happens, because so many people are sending or like trying to fetch the results, right, what happens, uh, like millions of people are sending requests in parallel. So what will happen, that server is not that fast enough to respond to all those requests at once. So few people will get the results, but for other people, what will happen when you try to, like, suppose this is the URL for that particular site, okay, the result site, and you try to access it. Okay, in the response what you will be getting, you will be getting a 500 server couldn't respond, errors like that. So that's how you understand that server couldn't process your request. Okay, or sometimes on servers, because you sent a request, that caused an error on the server as well. That time as well you will be receiving anywhere code between 500 to 599. And all these codes, if you want to read more about it, these are here on this URL as well in detail, like informational responses and what are the common information responses, okay, like 100, 101, 102 and details, everything is there. Okay, 200, okay, 201, everything is here if you want to read in more detail, but as of now it's not required. And as I told you that this is what the request looks like when it goes to the server in the backend. Okay, when I say in the backend, you can see this kind of architecture when you intercept the request using burp suite. Okay, so I will do that quickly. I am opening my burp suite and I will show you how you can. We will delete it, we will continue our temporary project only, and we will try to access this particular website, okay, which is for testing only. Actually, you can also test it. Here we have our burp suite. If you go to proxy and if you open our embedded browser only, we'll be going through the burp suite in detail later on once we are done with the HTTP basics first. So this is the browser. So whatever you access here on this browser, that will go through our burp suite, because burp suite started this particular browser. Okay.
Hi, Imit, sorry to interrupt. So, I'm not aware of this inbuilt browser. So, is it a new?
This is in the latest versions only, like 2020. All the versions of 2021, I guess it is there. So it's
Mm-hmm.
much easier.
So,
Just you will.
there's no need to configure
No,
in
no, no, no,
Firefox.
nothing, nothing, nothing. And
Okay,
the good
okay.
thing about it is, most of the time if you configure it with the Firefox or Google Chrome, you see a lot of requests being sent by Google Chrome itself or Firefox itself. So those also, you most of the time you are not going to get here. Okay, if you use
Mm-hmm.
this inbuilt embedded browser, that's what the feature is called. So
Okay, okay, got it.
okay, so yeah, that's how it is. Now right now, see, the intercept is off. Okay, what it means, that if I access a particular URL right now, the request will be sent to the server and server will send the response to this browser directly. We won't be able to, like, we won't be able to see what is the request being sent in the background. Okay, but if I turn on the intercept on, and now see what I will do, I am trying to show you what that syntax looks like in the backend. So I'm accessing this particular one here. I will keep it like this, and if I press enter, you can see that this is the syntax I was talking about. A get request is being sent. Here we have only slash. Why? Because there is no path after this that we are requesting, so that's why the path is slash only, like root. Host is the domain name that we are requesting for, and all the other things, like in later on sessions we will be discussing what is the use of every uh, these are actually headers. Okay, this host is header, this upgrade is header, this user agent is a header. Okay, request headers actually we call it. So we will be discussing about these. One I would clarify right now only is user agent. Okay, so
Imato, one simple question. So,
yeah,
why are we calling it as headers? Because most of the people saying it's a request header. So, why were you using the using this name? So, header means what basically it defines. So,
just like, see, in technical terms, okay, if I ask you open this URL, right, open this
mm-hmm.
URL, and I'm just giving you an URL in the message, what, like, because you understand what an URL is, right, you would be directly opening it in the browser. So that's why there is a technical term to 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 mention these parts. Okay, so what happens, like whenever you are you are explaining a bug or you are explaining a particular vulnerability to someone, okay, and you send them that add this particular request header in the request. Okay, like in the report, the person is going to say that add a custom header, okay, in the request that you intercepted by burp suite. What it means, and he's going to tell you that the header name is test and the its header value is test123. So now, if you know what request headers are, you would be able to put it there, right? How you were able to open URL in the browser, because you knew what URL is you are supposed to open in browser. So if someone is saying that add this request header in the request. What you are supposed to do, you are supposed to intercept that request, and you are come intercept that request and add that header directly here. Anywhere you can add, it doesn't matter. Even if you add here as well, okay, it's fine. But you can add it like this, test123, and the syntax is always header request header name colon space its value. That's how it is. So it's a generic term that we use to identify, or like to like just to point it where what kind of data it is. So that's how it is. You got my point?
Yeah, yeah, Mato. So it's basically just we are defining the name,
Defining
right?
what part of the request it is. Okay. For
Mm-hmm.
example, just we what did we call this get? This is
It's a method.
it's a HTTP method, or some
Yeah.
people call it HTTP verb, right? So
Okay.
if some person is saying that change the get request to the post request, what will you change? You will change the get to post, right? So
Yes.
that's how it's just a generic term, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And headers are always after the first, like after get or post, whatever there is. After that, all the things are headers, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I will show you for the for the post, actually post request, a body would be always there after a single line. So like a body would be there here like this, okay, after a single line of break, okay. So whatever there is, that is the post body, okay, or request body, people call it. So whatever is there down, like these HTTP methods, that are the headers actually before the empty line, okay. So that's a standard format how requests are sent to the servers, because if there is no standard, okay, server won't be able to understand, because humans can understand even if it is like mingled up, or in whatever way you want to put it, but servers has to put follow a fixed syntax. So that's why headers are put this way after the HTTP verb methods, till the point where you don't, like before the request body, and there should be a gap of one line, okay. So that's how it is. I will show you for the post request as well, just give me a moment.
Yeah. Okay,
So
Mato.
that's what I was saying, that this is what actually goes on in the backend actually. Now I will show you what the response also looks like, okay. Here it was telling us that the response something looks like this, okay. But in real life, like in people who are not aware of these backend things, right, they do not see these kind of things, okay. They just open google.com, they get the google.com page, and that that's all, right. But in the backend, what is happening when you load google.com, okay, it is sending a get request to google.com, okay. Here in that case, google.com would be here. Similarly, when the server sends you the response back, okay, it doesn't send it in this format only, okay. It sends it in this what you call in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript format, and your browser actually render that HTML, JavaScript, CSS, combine all of it and show you this nice picture. So that's how it works. So I will show you in Burp Suite only. See, I will here's uh, I will remove this part. This is our website, okay. This is the browser, that is the normal browser. From a normal user's perspective, if I open this website, what will I see? This will load, and you see welcome to our page and all this thing, okay. This is from normal user perspective. But when I loaded this particular website, just a moment, let me put it here. When I loaded this website from Burp Suite's browser, you can see it's still moving on. Why? Because this request is not forwarded to server yet. This is still yesterday we talked about, right? The browser will send it to Burp Suite, Burp Suite will forward it. It's still waiting for the response, because we didn't even send the request. Why? How would we get the response, right? So if I click on forward, it will send that request to server. Server will act on that request. Like what I have to do, he will act on the request. For example, if we ask the waiter to bring us tea, then waiter is going to bring tea. If we ask for coffee, it's going to bring coffee, right? It's not going to work like if we ask for tea and it's going to bring coffee. So based on the request, server is going to form a response and it's going to send it back. Now normally how in Burp Suite, normally Burp Suite doesn't intercept the responses, okay, that is coming from server. So that's the default functionality. If you want to intercept the response for a particular request, what you have to do, you have to right click, you have to go to do intercept a response to this request, okay. Now what will happen, Right now I'm forwarding the request. It went to server, and this is a different domain, you can say. This is not the response from vulnweb.com. I will just forward it. And once the server is done with its response, it's going to send the response back to Burpsuite, and Burpsuite is going to forward it to the browser. See, still it's waiting for the response. Why? Because right now the response we got on the Burpsuite tool, now if I forward this, Burpsuite browser is going to load it. So here I will show you. Normally, in normal users perspective, what were you seeing? Welcome to our page. But if you try to search it in the response like this response, right, you can see it like this. Okay, and this is actually an HTML. So this whole code is actually in the response. This is the whole response body. Okay, I told you that after a break, the things that is sent or received, that is request body and response body. So this will be actually rendered by the browser, the everything that we have till the end. This whole HTML code will be rendered by browser, and see what will happen. As soon as I forward it, server will render this whole content. My bad, browser will render this whole content. It will show us the website. See, as soon as, yeah, that's all. You can see the nice view now, because now we have forwarded that response to the browser. So that's how you are able to see it. So that's what goes in, okay, in the backend. And a lot of these headers and everything, that is that also plays a crucial role in requesting and in getting the response. Okay, so that's how it is. Just a moment. So yeah, we saw this request as well. Now let's see. Okay, I forgot one thing. I was going to show you what a post request looks like. So in post request, we send the data to the server. Okay, and how you can do it. Right now I have turned the intercept off. Why? Because I want to go to the login functionality here, and I do not want to intercept that particular request. Let's see, where can we go? Let's go to your profile. See, when I clicked on your profile, we didn't get any request here. Why? Because the intercept is off. Okay, now what I will do, I want, it is saying that the valid username and password is test. I will put test. I will put password as test. I will turn the intercept on, because I want to see what action the browser, like what request the browser is sending to the server. So now if I click on login and intercept is on, you can see that this is a post request. I told you that most of the time if you are sending some data, now server, you need to send this test username and password to server, so that server can verify whether you are a genuine user or not. So where are you going to send that data? That will be sent by a post HTTP method in the request body. Okay, some people call it request body, some people call it like this is same thing actually. My bad. This is same thing. Okay, and what this is the architecture of post. Just a moment, I'm messing it up. This is the architecture of post request. You have the HTTP method as post, whatever endpoint you are sending this request to. Okay, so right now I will tell you where the request is actually being sent. It is being sent to testphp.vulnweb.com/userinfo.php. Okay, but in this particular syntax, actually whatever other path is there, that is always mentioned in top. Okay, here we only mention the domain name. Okay, main domain name. Okay, rest of the things are always sent or mentioned like the end path here. Okay, after post. So and then so that's how it is. And then we have these request headers, similar to get only. Okay, it could be different, but these are headers. After that, I told you that there would be a break of line, and after that we will be having a request body. So this is the body here. What do we understand from it? That it is sending a variable, okay, called uname, and the value of that is test. Okay, like, because on server is going to fetch the whatever value is coming in the uname, so that would be test. Also, whatever value is coming in the pass, it is going to fetch that as a password, and it's going to compare in the database whether it's a valid username and password. Now I told you, if you want to see the response of this particular request, okay, or like intercept the response, okay, you have to go to right click, do intercept response to this request. But I'm not going to do it. I'm just trying to show you what if you do not intercept, what will happen then. The request will go to server. Server will check whether the test is a valid username and password. It will say yes, it is a valid password. Send the user to the home page. Okay, like allow the user to log in. So that response will definitely pass through our burp suite, but burp suite is not going to intercept it because I didn't do this. Okay, so right now what I'm doing, I'm clicking on forward. As soon as I click on forward, the user would be logged in directly here. We are not going to see any response here in the burp suite because even though it is going through the burp suite, like in the workflow, the burp suite is there. Okay, it is not going to intercept because we didn't ask it to intercept it. So if I click on forward, see, we are in the profile, or like in the login. After login, whatever the user is going to see, we are there actually. Okay, so these requests also you see, but these are actually from some Google APIs and things like that. So if you want, you can forward it to the Google APIs.com, or you can drop it. What do we mean by drop? That it is not going to send that request. So I will do drop. That's all. So now we have few questions here. What verb would be used on the login? So most of the time, okay, there are, I would say it's not mandatory to send a post request always, because everything depends on the website server. Okay, how the website is configured. Few people even use get to send the username and password. We'll discuss in upcoming session how they can do it, where exactly they send that kind of data in get request. But that is not a safe practice. Okay, a standard practice is to use it post only. What verb would be used to see your bank balance once you're logged in? So to get some data, right, we always use get. Does the body of a get request matter? Okay, in the get request you do not have any request bodies. Okay, like I told you that in the get request you do not have any bodies. In post you have request body. So in the get request the body doesn't matter, server is not going to process it. What is the status code for I am a teapot? Now it was a bit confusing for me as well earlier. What is this? But the answer for this, it's actually a particular status code. Okay, so if you go to that Firefox URL from here, right, if you search for teapot, just a moment, teapot, yeah, so the status code, whenever a 418 is being written, okay, that means that's a I am a teapot. It's kind of a term. Okay, or you can say uh, whenever we receive 200, right, so that is called kind of okay. Similarly, if 418 is received, it's called I am a teapot, means server is not responding to the request sent by client. Okay, so that is the status code. So that is 418. What status code will you get if you need to authenticate to access some content but you are unauthenticated? Okay, so unauthenticated are yeah, unauthenticated is 401 or 403. Just a moment, it should be, yeah, 401. If you are requesting for a particular endpoint, for example, here, right, we accessed this userinfo.php. I hope it works, I'm not sure. Let's see if it works or not. I will turn off the here. So the URL was userinfo.php. See, if I open userinfo.php, it is directing me to login.php. Why? I will show you. I will again turn on the intercept. I will now again access info.php. Here you can see that we are sending a get request to give us that page. I will intercept the response just to see what is going on. Click on forward. See, in the response we got 302, but most of the time, like it, I told you, it completely depends on the server. Right now what it is saying, that it is a 302 means redirect, go to login.php. So that's why when we forward it, we go to, we'll turn off, like we are not intercepting, we go to the login.php. But sometimes if there is an error that you are not authenticated, like that kind of error you see on the screen, that means it's a 401. So that's how the status codes are. That's how the get request is sent. How you can use post like this, not like this, in your burp suite only. If you want to look at the post, any of the post request, okay, I will open it. So yeah, this is what a post request looks like. In the request body, you will send the data. It could be any data, okay, and the all the variable and its value, that will be always separated by ampersand. So in case there was some more data like ampersand email or like that, right, that would be also put using ampersand only. So for example, if we had a body like this, and if there were more parameters like this, okay, and there is more parameter like password 123. So these all of these data is separated by an ampersand, just to make it clear to the server that what is the value, or like how they are segregated, like how each pair of data is segregated. So yeah, so that's how it is done. That's all for today. Thanks.